Welcome to the 22nd Annual BC Natural Resources Forum. I am the Shadow Minister for Northern Affairs, Arctic Sovereignty, and Northern Economic Development. How many think softwood lumber is a small issue in Canada? I don't see many hands there, okay. How many think softwood lumber is a big issue in Canada? That's what I thought. Well, most of you, as I, disagree with our current Prime Minister, who referred to the softwood lumber issue on a New York talk show as a small issue. In the last 9 years, we have lost 24 mills in BC alone. BC forestry revenue fell from $8.1 billion, or 3.3% in 2015, to $6.4 billion, or 2.1% of GDP in 2022, and it continues to fall, as you all know. Softwood lumber production in BC went from 30.6 million cubic meters in 2015, much of it coming out of Prince George, to 18.6 million cubic meters in 2022. And it continues to decline. At International Trade Committee in Ottawa, I recently asked a BC logging company owner, Wayne Harder, if the Prime Minister and his radical friends were sitting here, if you were to fire anyone for incompetence, who would you fire in the Prime Minister's government? His blunt answer, all of them. After 9 years and 3 US presidents, the Prime Minister and his government have failed to get a deal done with the Americans on softwood lumber. We got a deal done in 80 days after becoming government. Jim Jervin, an independent forestry consultant, said, "What's been limiting timber supply lately is government policies, including a moratorium on logging old growth stands, 10-year transfers, a 30 by 30 conservation goal, and ecosystem-based land management. All of those things, doesn't matter which way you cut it, it's going to reduce the supply." And from a mill manager in northeastern BC who wishes to remain anonymous, "The main reasons mills have had to close are political decisions. The trees are still there to support a vibrant, sustainable forest industry. However, access to those trees has been heavily restricted. The combined impact of these political decisions is estimated to have reduced the area available for harvesting by 50%. And based on where these areas are located, the impact on the annual allowable cut will even be greater than 50%. This is enough of an impact to cause the closure of 2 of 5 mills in the BC Peace, costing the area $100 million annually. And that is only logging and hauling," unquote. Will there be any forestry jobs left in BC if the federal and provincial government's radical restrictions and closures continue? I'll let you answer that question. From Canfor's CEO, Don Kane, "Our company has proudly operated in BC for more than 85 years, supporting jobs and economic activity in communities around the province. During that time, we have always been prepared to manage through challenging times and market fluctuations, recognizing the cyclical nature of our business. However, in recent years, increasing regulatory complexity, high operating costs, and the inability to reliably access economically viable timber to support our manufacturing facilities has resulted in hundreds of millions of dollars of losses in our BC operations," unquote. And those high operating costs and inability to reliably access economically viable timber are directly connected to the carbon tax, and you all know it. Pierre Poilievre and our Conservative government will axe the federal carbon tax. And I was looking to see if the Premier was here this morning, because I wanted to ask him this question. Because he made a promise last election, and he actually agrees with us, and he's promised to cancel his carbon tax. This is a quote. "The context and the challenges for British Columbians has changed. A lot of British Columbians are struggling with affordability," he said. "Our commitment," now this is the Premier, "is that the federal government decides to remove the legal backstop requiring us to have a consumer carbon tax in British Columbia. We will end the consumer carbon tax in British Columbia." So, Premier, for the sake of British Columbians who depend on forestry and resource development to feed their families, will you cancel the carbon tax as promised? I don't see him here this morning, but we're going to hold him to that promise. What else will we and our leader, Pierre Poilievre, do differently than the current Prime Minister with tariffs implemented by the US? This is from Pierre. "First of all, we should be exempt from all these tariffs. I can't believe that the Prime Minister Justin Trudeau signed a trade deal with Trump that leaves open the possibility of a 10% tariff. I never would have agreed to that," Poilievre said. He added he would work to end tariffs on softwood lumber and secure an exemption to Buy American policies. Quote, "Trump wants what's best for American workers. I want what's best for Canadian workers," he said. "We're not going to be suckers anymore," unquote. We Conservatives believe in common sense, transformation, not transition, technology, not taxes, led by the private sector, not government. We will bring back investment, remove the gatekeepers so we can greenlight green projects, bring home powerful paychecks, make traditional and alternative sources of energy affordable and accessible for all Canadians, accelerate approvals, and put Canadian resources, innovation, and workers first to ensure Canadian energy security and self-sufficiency. And yes, we do believe softwood lumber is a big issue in Canada. We, along with our leader, Pierre Poilievre, will bring it home. Thank you.